All right, so do you want to share your screen so I can see what's going on?
Sure, sure.
Okay. So read mysterious numbers. Let me request remote control so I can go through this. So, okay. Okay. So for over here, yeah. This would mean basically a new integer of length 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I put 0 in on action. I would get rid of that. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to put anything in there for right now.
Okay.
So let's see. What are we supposed to return here? The tally? No, the list of numbers in the file. Right. Okay. So yeah, what we do over here is that we have our file reader. We scan the file. Did I say to pass in a file or the file path?
It must have been the path then.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and I'm just gonna give it the path name in over here if you don't mind.
Sure.
I mean, again, it's just what I prefer to do. Like it's easier for me to take that. Let's also make sure that library.txt is clean. I think it's a clean file. If it's not, I can, yes, let's remove these bits first.
Okay.
Because otherwise we're going to have to deal with them. Okay. So, and then I have no idea whether or not this is still, I don't know if that would cause an issue, but hey, I'm going to be fine about that. We are working in nth digit. Yes, I had it pulled up in the tab, or you had it pulled up in the tab. All right. And then nth digit tally. Okay, we'll come back and get those in a second. But for right now, we've got sorry, I'm having to deal with the fact that I'm typing on your screen, and that's got to travel halfway around the world, and then travel halfway around the world again for me to see it.
So there's a difference between a file and a file path for.
A file path is just where you find it. This is technically a path, which is the file name. I just like to pass in a string rather than a file object, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
That's just my preference. Because strings are easier to debug or check what's going on. And here I just simply do new file and file name. So I just kind of nest that call. Regardless, what's going on here is you've got try. Let's see. We don't need that there. While has next line. Okay. So what we've got over here is that we want to say while we have. So we want to do that. So the way the while loop works for reading file, you just say while there's something to read, you gotta read it. Make sense?
Right. Right. Yeah. It should be a for loop instead.
While loop works fine. We just say while there's something to read, we read it. We want it. We want the actual reading. The next line reads the line. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why it's got to be in there. Now we move this outside. Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. And now, with regards to this, we say, okay, we've got your declared numbers over here, which is great. And now we can actually, finish we can, initialize it. This is going to give us an error for a bit, but we'll worry about that later. Don't we? Okay. Let's see. So here what we have is we have our let's see, we have to create a new array, right? And now we've got to basically, now that we know how big the array is, we got to read the file again. Annoying, but it's just because This is just normally you'd want to read it once, but because we're working with only primitive types, namely just
Okay.
arrays, or we're
Yeah.
working with the very basic types like just arrays, there's not really any nice way to do this other than to count it and then to read it again. We could have broken it up into two separate functions. In fact, if I were to rewrite this assignment, I would do so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but here we just simply say, let's read the file again. Because right now it's saying the scanner's at the end of the file. So to bring it back at the beginning of the file, we have to treat it like we're reading a new file. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
you
then
would have to create a second. Okay, never mind. You have to redo it. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
we're just going to simply, and then we just do the set loop again. The difference is that now when we read the line, let's go ahead and we're going to keep track of that index again. Or you saw you wanted that in the for loop, but here we're going to use a while loop. So again, the difference between for loops and while loops is whether or not we have a determinate or indeterminate loop, which is just a fancy way of saying we know exactly how long it's going to take versus we have no idea how long it's going to take. With while loops, we
Okay.
don't know precisely how big the file is. So
Right.
easier for us to do this. That being
So
said,
even after we did this function with the count, like
we would
then we wouldn't
technically
know what the
be
count. So we do a for loop, or
we
would we
would be
still
able
do
to
a
use
while
a
loop?
well, here's the thing. We would be able to use a for loop there. In fact, there's a for loops in Java, in C-based languages. Um they're essentially for loops and while loops for the most parts are completely interchangeable. You can there's no need for both to exist in the same language. At least with the ways we're using them. So a for loop over here would be perfectly fine. Why did I use a while loop? Because I could copy paste it. That's why. There's a lot to be said for symmetry and being able to read stuff. Okay.
Totally.
Again, the difference is when we get into a for each loop, which is a loop which is a loop for things that don't have indexes. But in which case you want to use and those are so clean. They're easy to read. Okay, so int index is equal to 0. We read the line. We need to now take that line and convert it into an integer. Do you remember how to do that?
I was seeing online it was like parse int.
Yep.
I don't know if it was.
Integer.parseInt. Yep, that's what we want to use. That is going to do the job, the messy, complicated job of taking a string and converting it into a number for us.
Okay.
Number. There we go. And then we can store that number in our nums. Index. Again, halfway around the world here. So
Yeah.
actually works very well for being halfway around the world.
You
Okay.
feel jet lagged at all?
I have not. So I've been able to sleep, but my sleep's all been like broken up. Like I wake up after a couple hours, but then I get back to sleep. So it's annoying.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like I
is.
should
Yeah.
feel more tired, but I don't. So oh well.
All right.
Um and now that we've done that, we do index plus plus.
Okay.
Okay, and that should be it. Now, of course, we're just dealing with the fact that it's yelling at us because, hey, this may never have been initialized. That's fine. That makes sense why you would do the why you did the just simply to tell it to buzz off,
Yeah.
because you redeclare it over here anyway.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is necessary because with the try catch, if there's an error here, it might skip redeclaring it. That's the entire reason it happens.
Oh, okay. So with try catches, is it like is it kind of similar to if else statements?
Yeah, so the way a try catch works is that you put it around code that could crash due to due to a certain exception. Okay. When Java encounters an error, like a file not found exception, the language it uses is that it throws the exception. And functions that you want that warn that they're going to possibly crash look like this. They say throws,
Rose. Yeah.
and then they label whatever their exception is. Um, and then that means it's your job to handle that. And the way you handle that is you can say there's a try block, and you're going to try whatever code's in the try block. And if that error gets thrown because the code crashed, okay, that's where the catch comes in. You catch
Right.
the thrown error. So as soon as so say you have the wrong file name over here, right? Right?
Yeah.
Well, that will throw a file not found exception. In fact, we can be very specific about about the exception over here. It does.
And there's different types of exceptions.
Yeah, everything's an object except for the primitives. Everything's objects in Java, including the errors. In fact, in a lot of programming languages, that's the paradigm that's we've been decided to use. It allows us to kind of visualize. Okay, it allows us to basically organize our code better, as you'll learn in Module 3. It allows us to think of things in terms of what actions they can do atomically. It allows us to organize our code a lot cleaner. We 3 and 4 is all about object-oriented programming.
Cool. Okay.
So as you can see, basically, if that error gets thrown, we catch it, and basically you skip right down there, and then rather than the entire program catching, you just simply do whatever you want because of the error, due to the error, and that's fine. All right, but this should work now.
That makes sense. Makes sense now.
And int nums, right? So let's go ahead and test this. So toString. And I'm always sometimes just fuzzy about what I have to remember I need to do because I teach in I teach in 2 languages, so Java and Python, and they are very similar in some ways and very different in others.
Totally.
Like even for some basic stuff like uppercasing and turning a string uppercase versus turning a string lowercase, it will be capitalized versus not capitalized.
Oh yeah.
So
The public static void thing was
let's see where we okay, got it. So this is for number string. What line did that occur on? I bet you that's not an issue with. Okay, that looks like it's not an issue with do we have an empty line somewhere?
it might be at the top when we deleted the
No.
okay.
Let's go ahead and create a secondary file. I forget if there are some issues with this file or not. I thought I fixed it last semester, but if I didn't, no, let's find out. New file, library 2. Actually, let's just make it easy to type. Library2.txt. And all I'll do is I'll copy these known quantities over. Whoops. And there. Makes sense. That way
Yeah.
and the fact that I did 10, that has no consequence whatsoever. It's just simply the amount, random amount I grabbed. Yes. Okay. So
it works.
Yeah. So there is an issue in this file somewhere, do we have a blank line somewhere? Where
Yeah, there's like 9,000 lines of code. I'll probably just skim it over, see if there's.
yeah, there's got to be. I think there's an empty line somewhere, and I'm for some reason blanking on the easy way to look for that. Yeah, that's not going to help at all. That is not going to help at all. Regardless, give me 1 second. Let me just take a very quick look. Give up remote control.
Yeah, I think organization's pretty big with programming. I noticed, especially after this lab. It's definitely like keeping your ducks in a row.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Give me a sec. I think I know how to do it. Request remote control. Boom. I think I know how to do it. It's just some regular expression magic, which is one of my favorites types of magic. So here, I switched over to regex. You'll want to switch that back at some point. Let's see. Would dump. So let me guess. This should work. Yep, that works. So what if I just do, yeah. There we
Oh,
go.
there you go. 4371.
Yeah.
And oh wow.
Yeah, this one has a couple empty lines in it. That's annoying. Okay. Well, this will be helpful to everybody else.
Totally.
So yeah. No, it's just a lot of at this point, it's a matter of students having the basics, and a lot of students, you've quickly figured out what the basics are. It's a matter of figuring out how to organize it.
Right. Yeah.
So there we go. And now if we go to library, we're gonna get a bit of a we should get a bit of a massive output now.
Yep.
Okay. So that should be good for that one. All right. Anything else?
All right. That's it. Thank you.
Take care.